Work is often presented as if it's a moral duty. We're told we owe it to society. We're praised for having a strong work ethic. We're warned against laziness, against sloth, as if it were a sin. But beneath all that noise, work, real work, is something much deeper. The drive to create, to build, to make meaning, it's a human need. It's not something we owe. It's something we are. It's as essential as breathing, as nutrition. The tragedy is that this natural impulse has been taken, appropriated, chained to moral duty, even to survival. We've turned work from a source of dignity into a condition for worthiness, for the right to exist. Work is turned into a moral issue. From childhood we're told, work hard, keep busy, be productive, contribute, hustle. It sounds noble, and sometimes it is. But hidden inside this story is a darker message. If you don't work, you don't deserve. You don't deserve income, you don't deserve housing, you don't deserve dignity. We've built an economy that says you only matter if you're useful. And most importantly, only in ways the market recognises. That's not morality, that's turning people into machinery. Millions work not because it gives them meaning, but because they're trapped in debt, trapped by rent, trapped by healthcare systems, trapped by the fear of falling behind. And the work that they do often breaks them, physically exhausting, psychologically empty, spiritually deadening. Meanwhile, the richest often do the least meaningful work, making money from money, detached from value creation. All their material needs are met, yes, but that doesn't mean their emotional or spiritual needs are. They have more than enough to live, but not enough to feel alive. We don't have a meritocracy, we have a system that traps those at the bottom in survival jobs and those at the top in soulless ones. Is it possible to change our focus on work from productivity to dignity? Work can be beautiful, to make things, to serve others, heal, teach, grow. These are human acts of care and creativity. But that's not the work that most people do, and it's not what pays best. What we call jobs are often arbitrary, bureaucratic, extractive, profit-oriented, meaningless. What would it look like to live through work rather than merely survive it? Imagine a world where basic needs are guaranteed. People work because they choose to, not because they're coerced. The most important work, care, teaching, healing, properly valued. Rest, not being shameful but sacred. This isn't laziness, it's liberation. Work should be a tool for fulfilment, not a test of worthiness. Ask yourself, if you didn't have to work to survive, what would you do? What would you love to do? Paint, write, build, care for your elders, walk in the woods, invent something useful? That's who you are. That's what you love. That's the economy we need to build. An economy that unleashes human potential instead of crushing it under 9-to-5 routines and burnout. A number of years ago I asked myself that question. I was burned out in my mid-40s. I could easily have made a list of things that I loved to do, but they seemed unreachable. 12-hour workdays, big mortgage, family responsibilities, heavy drinking, some mental health issues. But today I'm doing all of the things that I love, and it's transformed my relationship to work, to being productive. When I was at this low point in my life, I had a conversation with a mentor. He said, when it comes to careers, I have only one piece of advice. Do what you love. Do what you love and you'll never have to work a day in your life. It sounds like a fantasy, but it's not. It's the right goal, the right advice, the right economy. We just haven't built it yet. Yes, it can feel impossible, especially if you're stuck in a job that drains you, or you've never had the freedom to discover what you love. But that doesn't mean the dream is wrong. It means the system is. People often object to the idea of do what you love. They say doing what you love doesn't pay the bills. And in a system that undervalues care, creativity and community, it's understandable that they would be cautious. But building a life around love is not naive, it's necessary. Because even if you can't change the whole system today, you can begin by changing your relationship to what you do. And over time, that shift from surviving to living, from extracting to creating, it changes everything. Loving your work doesn't always mean finding a dream job. Sometimes it means finding love in the work that you already do. The point isn't that everyone must turn their hobby into a career. The point is that no one should be trapped in work they hate. Let's stop mocking that dream and start making it possible. We think we go to work to earn money. We think the goal is to get, to accumulate, to acquire, to receive. But what if all of that is wrong? What if the very act of focusing on money shrinks our experience of work and shrinks us? There's another way to approach it, one that spiritual traditions have taught for centuries. And that experience quietly confirms: focus on giving, not receiving. Focus on service, not accumulation. When we treat work as an act of service, whether it's helping, healing, creating, supporting, something profound happens. We don't just become happier, often we become more successful too. It actually turns out that when we serve well, the rewards, even the monetary ones, tend to follow. But even when they don't, there's a deeper wealth in being useful, needed, part of something larger than ourselves. Focusing only on making money breeds discontent because money is never enough. Service, by contrast, is abundant. It regenerates. To give is to receive. We've talked about the joy of making work an act of service, but there's another joy too, the joy of making itself. The joy of shaping, building, imagining, of bringing something into the world that didn't exist before. Work isn't just about serving others, it's about connecting to who we are. We were born to create, not to shuffle paper, not to chase quotas, but to give shape to ideas, to leave a mark on the world. And when we do, we don't just pass the time, we come alive. Research shows that we're happier when we make things, not because it fills the hours, but because it fills us. In making, we remember who we are, not consumers, not workers, but creators. We're not just talking about people stuck in low-quality, poorly paid jobs. The problem runs deeper than class. It would be easy to frame this as class war. This is what a left-wing economist might typically do, the poor struggling while the rich exploit them. But that would miss something really important. The truth is much more complex and more tragic. Yes, those at the bottom are trapped in survival, but many of those at the top are trapped too, trapped by fear, by status, by a game they can't stop playing. They have more than enough to live, but not enough to feel alive. They stay in jobs they hate. They accumulate more than they need. They work endlessly, not for joy, but for identity. This isn't a war between classes. It's a wound that runs through the whole system. We heal it not by revenge, but by rewriting the story of what makes life meaningful. Let's make work human again. We're not born to be units of production. We were not put here to meet quarterly targets. We were born to live, to rest, to connect, to love, to create, to contribute in ways that make sense to us, not just to the market. Let's build an economy where no one is disposable, where your value isn't tied to your output, where work serves life, not the other way round. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.